Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCU Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing my first of 6 matchup guide videos talking about Katsu and how he plays into certain heroes in the meta right now. We're going to be doing Uzuri, Dori, Lexi, Bravo, a couple other ones, Icelander, and I have 6 planned right now, but I might do more, see how it goes. And yeah, kind of give you my thoughts on how to play against the hero if you're struggling with it, and maybe some tips that can help you in the future. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you enjoy your stay. Feel free to check out my other videos. We do Flesh and Blood content here as well as Alpha Clash content. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank y'all so much as always. Feel free to check out the Patreon and the Discord down below. We have over 400 members in the Discord doing really, really well, talking every single day, having fun with it, and just, kind of going through it. So getting right into it, I've been asked to do matchup guide videos before. Matchup guide videos are hard for me. I have a hard time articulating stuff like this. I don't know why. It's very specific stuff. Not that I'm like this world-class player that just knows every little thing, but I don't know. Just something about this is always hard for me to articulate. So we're going to be learning together as I go through all these. I've been really trying to prepare and do this the right way, but definitely I want your feedback in the comments. Tell me what you think I'm missing. Tell me if you disagree with a game plan that I have into a certain hero, and just give general feedback. I would love to hear it from y'all. But first one I wanted to do was Uzuri. Uzuri is really fun because I think personally, at a normal level, Uzuri is a very skill-intensive matchup. Who's favored, who's not favored, I'm not really going to say that because it really depends on skill level and stuff like that. But it's a very skill-based matchup. It's a very deck-based matchup, like how you prepare for it, how you sideboard into it, and it's a big knowledge check, right? Usually what I find with, I'm just going to say casual audience, I'm included in that casual audience, like not professional play, really it comes down to who knows the matchup better. And who knows the matchup better typically is who wins. That's what I found. So the one thing I want to say about Uzuri is she's very difficult to play against. She has a lot of Arsenal hate. She has a lot of Kadachi hate. And she's a hero where you have to, know when to push and when not to push. And we're going to talk about key cards and stuff like that and tips and kind of go through it. But really just for the new players, just in case, Uzuri uses key cards like Isolate along with which are stealth cards and other stealth cards in order to flip in very disruptive attacks. Cards like Shakedown, cards like Command and Conquer, cards like Leave Low Witnesses. She has a lot of cards that can hurt your arsenal, but also hurt your hand, right? Leave No Witnesses blows up a card in arsenal as well as a card off the top of your deck and usually generates silver because you have a lot of red cards. Cards like Shakedown can take out your best attack or your resources, depending if she chooses 1 or 3, which typically she's going to choose 1, but I have seen Uzuris that choose 3 depending on game state. She then uses cards like Codex of Frailty, which A, turns off your Kadachis, and B, it brings back a powerful attack. Codex of Frailty is one of the best one-card hands in the game. Being able to play this and then off Tunic, being able to play Death Touch for 6, giving you a Frailty token, and then on hit, likely giving you a Blood Rot token in order to turn off your Kadachis, deal potentially 8 damage to you, and then draw back up. The key with Uzuri is, and the thing you have to know, there's a couple tips that I'm going to kind of go through towards the middle to end of this video because I want to do it with the hand example that I'm going to give, is she likes to play off 2 and 3 card hands. When you combine efficiency and on hits, Uzuri has arguably the best 2 card hands in the game. She just does. She's able to hit you with things like Command and Conquer, Shakedown, all these cards off of 2 cards, and pretty much guarantee the hit, especially against a Katsu if they don't have a D-Reactor or Reinforce the Line in her hand, and just able to give you constant disruption. The downside to Uzuri in this matchup is she is not very good on 4-card hands, right? She wants to block you a little bit. So you can use that to your advantage by giving her very, very annoying things to have to block. And we'll kind of talk about that here in a second, and basically force more interaction from her than she wants. Because the thing with Uzuri is, unless she just gets super lucky, when she falls behind in this matchup, it's really bad. If she expends her armor early, if she has to, if she clunks up a little bit with too many stealth cards in her hand or things of that nature, she can really fall behind really fast, at least from my experience. But if she keeps that consistent disruption, it can prove problematic, right? So getting into this, the first thing I want to talk about, we're going to do a couple things. I'm going to talk about reactions that I use and kind of my thought process. I'm going to talk about tech cards that you can have, both from a competitive aspect, but also a budget aspect for you all out there that can't afford a playset Command and Conquers, which a lot of people have. And then also a hand example, which is where I'll talk about like 5 to 6 general tips that I give for Uzuri, and we'll kind of go from there. So first thing is reactions. These are the biggest things you're going to side in against Uzuri. Typically in most Katsu lists, you have Sink Below, Flick Flack, and Reinforce the Line are the most typical ones that you see. So Flick Flack's not really used as much in this matchup. Uzuri's not really going to want to go wide ever. You're never going to really want to bring Flick Flack in. If it's already in your main board, cool. That's access to another D-React, but really I wouldn't worry about bringing it in, so we won't talk about that one too much. You have Sink Below and Reinforce the Line. I like them both. They're both great. I will say I enjoy Reinforce the Line over Sink Below in this matchup, as well as actually in general through most matchups that require D-Reacts, and I'll kind of tell you why. There's a couple reasons. One, Command and Conquer. Command and Conquer is so rampant in this meta because of Lexi and because of Dromai that a lot of heroes you play against are going to run it. And because of that, Command and Conquer can nullify a Sink Below. If you arsenal your Sink Below and Uzuri gets a 2-card hand, maybe they didn't have a stealth card, and they just pitch a blue to play Command and Conquer, well, now you just prevented your ability to block it with that Sink Below. However, Reinforce the Line gets around Command and Conquer, right? Being able to block with one of your attack cards and then Reinforce the Line it to make it block for 7 or 6, it gets around that. Second reason I like Reinforce the Line over Sink Below is I don't have to arsenal Reinforce the Line to get the most use of it, right? With Sink Below, typically you want to arsenal the card because you want to block with one card from hand and then block with Sink Below from arsenal. Reinforce the Line, you don't have to worry about always getting an arsenal. Yes, if you can, that's better, but what's really good about it is it allows you to, if you draw into it, get around those dominate effects with Isolate on Uzuri and be able to block with a card and then buff it with Reinforce the Line. The last reason why I like Reinforce the Line over Sink Below in this matchup is because of 2 things. One, everyone knows about Uzuri's little cool trick where she activates Flick Knives in response, right, to your D-React, and then she pops her Nerve Scalpel knife or dagger, which then allows her to reduce the block of your Sink Below by 1, which then guarantees an on hit, right? It's a very common thing that they do because you can use reactions at instant speed, which most people don't remember. Basically, what they'll do is, they'll play an Isolate. You'll block with a card from hand. Let's say you have a Sink Below in Arsenal. They'll activate Uzuri, putting a card face down, their banish, and then you have a chance to respond to that. Instant, you play your Sink Below out of Arsenal because you want to get it out before maybe they play a Command and Conquer or a Shakedown, and then they respond to your Sink Below at instant speed by activating their Flick Knives, popping their Nerve Scalpel, and then now your Sink Below is only blocking for 3, which depending on what which you already blocked with could mean that they guarantee the on hit, right? With Reinforce the Line, they can't make that go down. The only thing they can do is Spider Bite you, which again, Reinforce the Line is amazing to get around Spider Bite. Because with Spider Bite, if let's say you have a 3 block that you're going to use, and they Spider Bite you first, and then they play Isolate, and you block with a 3 block attack, which only is blocking for 2 now. Well, Reinforce the Line is going to make it block for 6 regardless, and there's no way they can make it go down any farther. So Reinforce the Line gets around a lot of things that Uzuri is trying to do, and I think if you have a lot of Uzuri in your area, or just in general with Uzuri and Bravo being so prevalent right now, I definitely would run a full 3 in the side just for these matchups. So that's my thoughts on the reactions. Let me know what your comments are or thoughts are in the comments below. When it comes to tech cards, I have everything from really, really like high level all the way down to like, budget / techie level. So first thing is Command and Conquer, like we just talked about. The card is nuts. It's pretty much in everyone's sideboard because of some of the prominent heroes in the meta right now. Against Uzuri, it's really, really good because she usually, most of the Uzuri lists I'm seeing run a good amount of reactions, and Command and Conquer is a good way to just prevent that, especially late game when they're like maybe they pitched away some reactions or pitched away some stuff for later. You're able to use it on second cycle and really make the most of some of your on-hit potential, right? It doesn't quite sync with your kit like you want it to, but overall, it's not that big a deal. I still think you should run it. If you don't have a playset Command and Conquers, I definitely think Humble is the next best 6-power option in the game right now for several reasons. One, it's so good against all of the other heroes. It's good against Lexi. If it's Lexi, she can't flip that card that's face down Arsenal in order to give her second Arsenal slot. If you hit a Bravo, it turns off their Dominate. If you hit Uzuri, it turns off her ability to swap, right? It turns any hero that cares about, if you hit it with Dromai, if it's not using it as a popper, it turns off her ability to give things go again. It's probably, in my opinion, it is the second best 6 power in the game right now. Just my opinion. It does block for 2, which sucks. I wish it blocked for 3. But overall, I think this is the next best budget 6 power you can do. And even depending on your list, if you have a super slow list like mine, like a Turtle Katsu or something, or a heavy mid-range list, maybe running a 1 of these or a 2 of these isn't that big of a deal. But those are 2 6 powers I think you could really use in this matchup. The third one, which is super techy, is maybe run a single Burdens of the Past in your sideboard. Burdens of the Past says, when you play this, it doesn't cost anything to play. It's a blue block 3, hits all the wickets for Katsu, and it says, until the end of turn, the opposing hero cannot play defense reactions that match the name as ones in their graveyard. So if they've played a Sink Below and it's in their grave, they can't play a Sink Below out, things of that nature. And if they have over 10 D reacts, which usually Uzuri doesn't run that many, but if they did, you draw a card. So this is really good. If you're playing a really slow mid-range Katsu list and you think the game's going to go super late, putting one of these in to guarantee a good combo line is really nice. Especially playing this from Arsenal is really good. I'm not saying it's a world ender by any means, but it's definitely an option you can think about as you're going through your sideboards. Then we come into a hand example. And before we get into the hand example, I want to give... It's a total of 6 suggestions for Uzuri. I didn't put them up on the screen, so definitely you can pause and take your time and write these down. And like I said, as we do more of these, I'll get better at how I want to present these. So the first thing is going first or second. Typically against Uzuri, I prefer to go second for several reasons. One, I don't like to go first. I'll tell you the reasons I don't like to go first. The main reason is Uzuri blocks very well, and Uzuri doesn't care to block. So you going first, if you try to throw your hand, she can block you very efficiently, and it's totally fine. The second thing is Uzuri is slightly, not super, but slightly prone to bricking in terms of if she draws into like 2 stealth cards, maybe a Codex and a Shred, right? Attacking her round 1 will not really, help very much, and Arsenal also doesn't do a whole lot either because she still has enough on hits to maybe affect you, if you're trying to set up for a big 5-card hand. I typically just don't like to go first. I like to go second because at worst, the worst thing they're going to do to you is, Spider Bite into Isolate into Shakedown. Okay, you block with a 2 with the now what's a 2 block, right? Let's say you don't have a D react, and they hit you for 4 because Shakedown hits for 4 after the flip, and then she takes a card from your hand. So the worst thing that happens is, you lose 4 life and you lose 2 cards and then you draw back up. Okay, it sucks, but now you can have tempo. Now you can try to go at her and maybe do something. The second reason, another reason, or actually a third, fourth reason I don't like going first is, again, it's going to go into the next suggestion, which is avoid arsenaling your key combo pieces. Uzuri has a ton of Arsenal hate. So if you just choose to go first and then you Arsenal pass, you're going to potentially be open to her Isolate and the Command and Conquering you. And I typically don't like to Arsenal my key combo pieces. We'll talk about here in a second. So the whole go first Arsenal pass instead of a 5-card hand is a lot more riskier against the Uzuri. So for that very reason, I just like to go second most of the time and try to take tempo there. The second thing I suggest is avoid arsenaling your key combo pieces. Typically in Katsu, if you're running a bonds-oriented list, which most of the top-performing Katsu lists are, you want to arsenal those combo pieces, right? You want to arsenal a bonds. You want to arsenal a whelming gust wave, or even the descendant gust wave, or something of that nature. Even a dishonor, depending on how things are going, if you have to. With Uzuri, because she has so much Arsenal hate with Leave No Witnesses, even with Death Touch, if she chooses Inertia, if you've been holding something in Arsenal for a while, she has Command and Conquer. She has a lot of Arsenal hate in her deck, and because of that, I normally don't want to Arsenal those pieces if I can help it. I like to Arsenal D-Reacts or Arsenal stuff that I'm okay with losing. Now that's not to say that you can't just avoid that at all times. Sometimes that's the only card in your hand. Like this hand, for example, if I Karachi, play 100 wins and Be Like Water, whatever order, right, and all I have left is Bonds of Ancestry and I didn't get a good hit, then I have to arsenal it, and that's fine. But typically, I want to avoid arsenaling my key combo pieces against Uzuri if I can help it. I would much rather, like with this hand, if I had to arsenal one of these, I'd much rather arsenal 100 Winds or Be Like Water, because if I lose those, I lose those. I at least have a part of the combo that I need in order to pop off. The third one is utilize your D-Reacts. Again, running 3 Sync Blows and 3 Reinforced Lines in this matchup is really, really good. Highly suggest doing it. And those are honestly what you want to arsenal more than anything, because they're going to give you the most utilization to be able to combat Uzuri and what she's trying to do. Also, the other good thing about arsenaling a Sync Blow or something like that is sometimes you might not block from hand. You'll just block from arsenal. And you'll say, look, if you have a shakedown, take a card from my hand. Sucks. Sometimes you just got to make them have it, which is another thing right here that I have. This is a suggestion. But if they have a Command and Conquer in hand and they activate Uzuri and then you respond with a Sync Below before they can get the Command and Conquer out, like, okay, you just dealt me 2 damage and then I have a 4-card hand that I can come at you with, right? So it's really, really good for that. So my next one, and this is not really like technical, analytical advice, it's more of just my thoughts. Sometimes you got to make them have it. You're not going to be able to always block out those isolate plays, right? Sometimes you just got to say, okay, if you got shakedown, you got shakedown. But you know what? If you have Leave the Witnesses and I don't have an arsenal, okay, I dealt 4 damage, you burn the top card off my deck, and we keep going with our life, right? The two cards that can hurt you the most are Surgical Extraction and Shakedown. Leave No Witnesses and Command and Conquer can hurt, but it doesn't hurt your tempo as much depending on what was in your arsenal or if anything was in your arsenal in general. And sometimes you just got to make them have it. So that's kind of just my thought on that. That's a little bit, out there, but that's just how I feel. The next one, we have 2 things left. One is do not rely on Kodachis. Yes, if you can Kodachi, but they have so much Kodachi hate with Codex of Frailty, and then also even Frailty Trap if they decide to run it, especially when Icelander and Lexi rotate out, and they will rotate out. Ninjas are going to be a lot more prominent unless something crazy happens with the meta with these new sets. So because of that, you're going to see a Frailty Trap be a lot more prominent, and even Tar Pit Trap is another one that could be a lot more prominent. And so you don't want to always utilize your Kodachis as much as you want to. I typically, against the Uzuri, if I can help it, like to present a good attack on the Chain Link 1, then use my Kodachis Chain Link 2 and 3 instead of leading with my Kodachis normally. And this is the final aspect and the final suggestion. And this is one that I'm going to make an entirely new video on this month. I'm just trying to figure out how I want to do it because this is going to be super in-depth. It's probably going to be one of the most in-depth videos I've done. I saw Tyler Broughton do a video on like why he doesn't play Art of War. And he also wrote this huge article with like 9 points. I'm going to do that for this, which is, do you go for damage or do you go for draw power? Every Katsu hand, in my opinion, has a line that says, some of them, sometimes it's the same, but in a lot of hands, it's, okay, do I go for damage early in the chain and just try to eke stuff out, or do I go for draw power and try to go as wide as humanly possible? Basically, you're asking yourself, do I use my Kodachis early in the chain or later in the chain, right? So we have this example here, and I'm going to try my best on the fly to give you my reasoning. So with this hand right here, you have a couple of different options. You could Kodachi 100 Winds, and then discard the Be Like Water, go get a Descendant Gust Wave, use your last resource, and then play Bonds. You could play 100 Winds first and see if they block it, and then discard your Be Like Water. You could play Kodachi Be Like Water, forcing the block 3, then playing 100 Winds, and then arsenaling your Bonds of Ancestry. That's not the best line in my opinion, but you could do that. You could play Be Like Water first, trying to force that 3 block out. If they block it, then you Kodachi 100 Winds, forcing another mask, or forcing a mask potential, and then they have to block with another 3 block. There's a lot of different things you could do. And you have what I call damage lines and draw lines. So the ultimate draw line here is you're trying to basically force out a late. You're trying to force out a mid-chain draw. So you basically, when you're trying to force draw power or you're trying to force awkward blocks, right, not necessarily damage, that's when you lead with your Kodachis, right? So like forcing someone in a really crappy way to have to respect your draws is doing like Kodachi 100 Winds, because they're probably have blocked that second Kodachi typically, and then they're not going to want to block that 100 Winds again, but they could. The thing with Uzuri is she has plenty of 3 blocks. She is totally fine with blocking you 2 times in a row. So then you have high damage lines, or like forcing their hand early in the damage aspect, which is maybe doing 100 wins first, seeing if they block it to prevent the Katsu trigger. Then you Kadachi twice and then play Be Like Water. And if they happen to, block that 100 wins, they're going to have to make the choice of, do I block that second Kadachi or do I block the Be Like Water? And in that case, you're forcing damage out a little bit earlier in the chain to be able to, punish them later. There's a little bit intricacy to it, but really to me, the key conduit is, do I want to force my opponent to block awkward things, or do I want to force them to block with a lot because it's a high damage thing? When it comes to Uzuri, it depends. If her armor is up, I typically do not like to lead with Kadachis or play Kadachis early in the chain, because she's just going to utilize armor to block out that and turn off mask. If her armor is down, then I will use my Kadachis early in the chain in order to force a card out of her hand, so then I can punish later with a bigger attack, right? So it all depends. I'm going to give better examples in that big video of, do you go for draw or damage? Let's just say with this hand right here, let's say they're playing Black Tech Whispers. If they're playing Black Tech Whispers, I'm probably not going to lead with Kadachi because they might just use Black Techs. Maybe. They might not. I typically would probably lead with the 100 wins or the Be Like Wire. Probably the 100 wins, because the Be Like Wire is pretty much an auto block, and the 100 wins might not be an auto block because they don't know what's in my hand. So they might not know that I can go into the bonds line because I'm presenting 100 wins. They might think I'm just going to get another 100 wins, right? So that's kind of where my thought is. If they don't have armor, then yes, I'm probably going to do Kadachi 100 wins, right? Or Kadachi 100 wins, right? I'm trying to do different things to force weird blocks out of them and then be able to maximize my line. So it all depends on what you're doing. It's very hard. It's very hand dependent. It's very hero dependent. It's very dependent on what type of armor they have. But I think a lot of people in the world that are new to Katsu just think like, I need to do damage. And sometimes the power of Katsu is forcing interaction, not damage. It's a little bit weird thing to explain. Hopefully I can do a better job in the video where I have it all written down for me. But yeah, that's my basic thought for Uzuri. The game's going to go a little bit longer. I personally would have probably 62 to 65 cards in the deck, probably 65-ish, because you're going to have a lot of hand disruption. You're going to have a lot of blocking when you have to block. Knowing when to block, when not to block is really important. And because of that, you want to have a couple extra cards in the deck to be able to, supplement that. Even cards like Reinforced Line, Sink Below, yes, you want to use them as D-Reacts, but they're also extra 0 cost now in your deck to use for Katsu. So it all depends on what you're doing. But if you can learn how to navigate your arsenal effectively, I think, and learn how to utilize your Reinforced Lines perfectly, I think you can have a lot better time against Uzuri. Honestly, if I had to give you one piece of advice, you're still here after 23 minutes. Number one piece of advice is be careful what you arsenal. I think that's where people get hurt the worst against Uzuri, is they arsenal a key piece thinking it's not going to get taken, and it gets taken very quickly. So that's kind of my thought process with that. Hopefully it's helped. This is my first one out of 6. And again, I've never done something like this, so I'm still learning on how I would suggest doing it. Hopefully it's helped in any sense. If it did, let me know. If it didn't, if I said something you completely disagree with, let me know in the comments. It's totally fine. Just make it constructive. Let me know what you would do better, because I'm always trying to improve myself and get better at this game. But yeah, if you like this, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not me, go to our Fleshbug career, leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can get more people seeing this game. And I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. Thank y'all so much.